That was an absolutely incredible um, talk by Angela. We are joined now by the founder of the Sales Evangelist, Donald Kelly. We are so lucky to have him here with us today. Donald is absolutely incredible. I know he has an incredible talk for you guys. Donald's mission is to evangelize the method of effective selling and motivate sellers at all levels to do big things. He was the former top performing technology sales professional who has successfully sold in both the public and private sectors. Donald was able to crack the code of helping teams thrive in B2B sales. He's also the author of Sell It Like a Mango, a new seller's guide to closing more deals. So if you want more, I would definitely check that out. He has helped many sellers from different companies build confidence in their selling abilities to increase revenue and as a result. And Donald has spoken to audiences all across the country and has shared the stage with speakers such as Aisha Tyler, Sarah Koenig, Guy Ross, Chris Brogan, and Mark Mayron. Oh, I love Mark Mayron. So please welcome Donald Kelly to the stage. Donald, please take it away.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that awesome invite there. I'm excited for this today, and I want to see if you all are excited as much as I am too. So if you are, just go in the comments and give me like a yes or through some fireballs or something in the comments. I'd love to see some excitement here for this session. This topic is something that I'm really, really passionate about. Obviously, my name gives it away, the evangelist. I love to evangelize about sales, and especially with this one about product market fit. So I'm going to take you back about 15 years to a story. So I want you guys to sit back and enjoy this experience here. I worked for a company, and we're going to call their name, their acronym, just PD. So P as in Paul, D as in David. And PD was a company that was an amazing startup. In theory, this startup was a startup that never, ever really got up. And I will explain all of this. The company was in the managed IT services. So essentially, we would come to your organization and we would oversee your IT and take care of all of your break fixes and when it comes towards your tech department. Now, the other challenge that this company faced was that they had an identity crisis because the founder was just like any amazing founder, had a big vision of things that he wanted to accomplish and to save the world. So we started to sell different products as well. If our clients could benefit from this, why not? Now, the issue was they did not necessarily have a lot of clients. They had some sporadic people in different industries that they were serving, and they figured this was a good thing. This was showing that they were growing, and this was showing that they were advancing. And one area that came out, this neat thing in 2008 was quite interesting, was this notion of this meaningful use, and when it came towards healthcare. And specifically, it was around this notion that if, electronic health records. So with the fact that this company was servicing a few clients that were in the medical field, actually were one dentist, they figured, what if we started to sell this electronic health record solution as well? Makes total sense, right? We take care of the IT and we'll sell the software. So they started to scramble and they found a software that they could use and they started to sell. Now they needed to find salespeople that could come in and do this job. They lured me with a wonderful advance in money and more, all the big vision ideas, and brought me into this company and several other people with a medical background to come and to sell. And the reason was they figured with our medical sales expertise, we could help this company get to the next level. Now, you can figure out what's going to happen over time as I go through the story. Naturally, we did not become that successful company. And no, we did not hit the New York Stock Exchange. And obviously, that company is no longer in existence because this was a big issue. And it's an issue that's prevailing with so many startups. We started to go for so many different types of clients. And with my expertise, my medical expertise was really around assisted living, senior care facilities, being in South Florida, selling into that world. That knowledge was not necessarily effective to go and work with dentists and also for hospitals and doctor office in larger doctors groups. In no time, the company started to dwindle. And naturally, the effect or the problem was pointed towards the salespeople. Only if the salespeople could do a better job of landing in these accounts, we would thrive. The point of the matter here is not that the salespeople were bad. I mean, I'm Donna freaking Kelly. We had a good time. We had a great team. The issue was we did not have a product that for the right type of market. It wasn't something that dentists needed or cared that much about, and it wasn't necessarily the right time to be able to do that. In no time, as I shared, the company folded. And I remember that day like it was yesterday, where the CEO and the leaders brought us all into the conference room and they told us, you know what, keep the iPads. You all could keep those, and you will need to look for other employment because we are closing down the company. I was devastated. I was frustrated. I was angry, and all of these things. But it taught me something important. If you don't have a right product for the industry, you better make sure you figure that out before you start to go deep. Fortunately, I was able to land into another software company who did have a great product market fit, and they thrive, and I was able to really grow and become successful there. Now, here's what we're going to talk about. So how can we determine when it comes towards sales and it comes towards product market fit, how can we ensure that we're on the right path? How can we ensure that our teams are focused? And how can we ensure that we're doing the put the right pieces together? I'm going to share with you 5 things today, 5 ideas, and hopefully these can stick and you can take and apply them. But I want to also kind of share this notion before I jump into all of that. There's something, if you heard about this before, I want to see in the comments if you're there. Just go ahead. If you've heard about the platinum rule before, just go ahead and put that in the chat. The golden rule. The golden rule. Just give me a thumbs up. The golden rule states simply, treat others the way that you would like to be treated. The platinum rule, however, is something totally different. The platinum rule states that you treat others the way that they would like to be treated. So when you think about this with your customers, that company that I work for, PD, our goal, we were focusing on being the golden rule. We wanted to treat others the way we wanted to be treated. We wanted to make money. So we figured if we like this product, people are going to like this product. However, we didn't apply the platinum rule. We didn't figure out what our clients wanted, what issues they had, what challenges they needed to solve, and then to solve their problem and their issue. So 5 things that you need to take advantage of to make sure you avoid this fate and don't fall into this area. The first thing is to determine your target customer. We had no clue who our target customers were. As I mentioned, we were going for dentists. We were going for senior care facilities. We were going for hospitals. We were going for anyone with a medical degree and that we feel could benefit from the solution that we offer. The solution, however, could not service all of those areas well. So you have to make sure you focus on the target right away. Get the right people and start working with them. And I want to give an example. Think about like that, obviously you all know about buyer persona or your ideal customer profile. Identify who those individuals are and then start to figure out what are some of those pains or some of the problems, some of the difficulties that they might be facing. Analyze the product or service, or familiarize yourself with your competitors, and then choose a segment, and then make sure you do some performance research. Like if you're doing these things, you'll be able to help to determine who's going to be the right fit for you. Unfortunately, the dentists weren't going to be a great fit for us. We found out later that the doctor groups would have been much better group for us to focus on, but that was way too late in the process. We had no idea of the segmentation. We had no idea of the competition, and we didn't necessarily analyze what type of service or what type of issues those organizations needed to solve. So that's a super simple first thing. So if you're a founder, or if you're an executive at a startup, or if you're someone that's looking to, entrepreneur trying to expand your business, trying to grow, or even if you're an established organization trying to establish a new division, the first thing you want to do is make sure you really get that part down. Do we have an understanding of who those ideal customers are? Super basic. Number 2 is an interesting one, and it's super simple as well. It's just gathering data. And you could gather data in several different ways. You can do surveys, or you can go ahead and just use information that's out there. I remember when Uber first started, one of the things that they did was they, instead of like, they went out and started giving out free rides, essentially. And from different tech scenes in California and San Francisco Bay Area. And what they started to see was that people were people interested in this ride rather than taking a taxi cab, and they found out that people had interest in that. So they were doing some different things. And this is a sucky part when it comes towards, determine product market fit. Like it's not just something that's going to be, determined right away. And that's where I think many founders and many CEOs and startups make a mistake, because as soon as they start their business, as soon as they get out there, as soon as like PD, they want to get a big office space and they want to hire a bunch of people and they want to push things out and they want to create culture and they want to have like a cereal bar in the kitchen because they feel like like that's creating company. It's like playing house, so to speak. Like, no, before you get to that part, that part, let's determine if there is even something that we need to, that we can actually bring to market, that we can actually have the salespeople sell, and that we can actually have marketing to, to bring out and to share with the world. We need to establish this thing first. And that's where it's the sucky part. It's just a lot of research and gathering information and doing the grunt work so you can make sure this is something that the customers want. Go back to the platinum rule, that we're treating others the way that they would like to be treated, that we're giving them something that they would want and it's something that they would use. And I'm going to share with you some more questions that can help you with this as well. Number 3, I want you to focus on focus on a single vertical. I'm telling you, I mean, my company, the one I worked for, was like a case study for product market fit horribleness because we were, again, go back to our situation, the story that I shared, we did not have one single vertical that we were focused on. We did not have one single customer. And now think about it, the problems that a dentist have compared to the problem that a rheumatologist have, compared to the problem that a podiatrist has, it's kind of different. Yes, they do service patients, and yes, they are medical professionals, but we also started throwing in chiropractors into the mix. And I remember going to a luncheon with a bunch of chiropractors, and we were just hoping that somehow maybe these folks will see the vision and they will want to get the solution as well. Mind you, they were paying for my salary and paying for several other salespeople's salary, so the burn rate was like it was pretty extensive, and obviously that led to our demise eventually. I want you to focus on just a small segment, a small industry. Startups notoriously, like, with your small budgets, again, they want to spend a lot of money, but establish an industry and focus on that industry and try to make sure you can actually fit, that you can actually solve that problem. And this kind of goes down to this idea too, where sometimes we find that startups and companies want to look at their product as like as almost like a vitamin. I want you to look at your product and see it as it needs to be a painkiller. The services that you offer, is it a painkiller? And in my case, as a sales professional, I want to make sure that's going to be something that's going to be, I can make money off of, right? I can go and sell that thing, that the something that my prospects will want to buy. And your sales team obviously crave that because they're not going to work for free. They want to make sure they're successful as well. So think about the products that you have again and make sure you have a painkiller and not a vitamin. And you can determine that with those prospects with those prospects and with your early research as you're trying to determine with your team. Go back to Spotify. Remember when Spotify first came on the scene as well? Spotify kind of came in right after Napster, and Napster did some good work in a sense, right? Napster found out that people love music and that we wanted to listen to music, and we like that community idea with music, right? And so from that point, however, Napster, they had some challenges. Obviously, we all know that led to their downfall. And then eventually, when Spotify came around, they're like, wonder if we can do this. What if we were to go to the single segment of people who like music, who like community, and ask them, would they be willing to pay a small set fee and still take advantage of getting music? And funny thing was, yes, it was. And in some cases, we could do that as well. We don't necessarily have to go and reinvent the wheel. We could take up where somebody may have failed, or we could take up a part where where a competitor maybe they have control of a part of that market, but is there something that they're missing that we could add on to? Perhaps they're selling chocolate chip cookies. Is there a way that we can come in and test the market and see if people would like oatmeal raisin cookies? Hey, perhaps that is. And that's a new segment. But again, you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel and figure out if people want cookies in the first place. You know that already. You just build off of that. But essentially, again, don't make that judgment and jump out and start spending tons of money. Test it out first before you invest in buying the equipment to make oatmeal cookies. Just like with Spotify, tried it and tested it out. And now they have like several 200, 300 million users or whatever, crazy numbers. So test that piece out before you go. See some questions coming in here. What is an indicator in sales that there is no product market fit? Oh, that's a good question there. I think there's many different signals that you probably could find, but I like to say one of the things that are the lowest hanging fruit that's out there for me to determine if there is a product market fit or not is obviously if people are buying it and if people are coming back and using that product over and over and using that product over and over again. So I might say, for instance, we might sell say you have an app And that application, you're getting a lot of people download this application. But what's their usage of that app like? I mean, are they using that like a week later? Is it something that they're every week when they look at their screen usage, is it something that they're using and something that's there in that group? And if it's not, then obviously that should be an indicator. So essentially, that for you on that product side is again the usage, and then two, in that situation is also the spend. Are people coming back and buying more? In my case, for instance, if it's our training programs, if somebody's coming into one of our training program, are they investing in other programs that we have to offer? Are they taking part in some of our, upselling into some of our other offerings? Or are they bringing other team members through? So those are some of the things that we look at. So depending on your industry, you want to see the usage or see how that person is interacting and if they're continuing and if they're coming back and buying it over and over again. Obviously, depending on the solution. If you're selling like $100,000 solution, they're probably not going to come back every single week. However, the usage of that is going to be absolutely critical. Number 4, you want to make sure you specify your value proposition. The value proposition just has to be down and has to be clear. We did not have that specific value proposition when I was working for that software that managed IT company. We just went and we were winging it according to what we felt was going to be good as sales professional. Nothing's concrete. And I remember once when the marketing team, they had us go out and collect business cards from these different doctors' offices because they felt that if we had a lot of business cards, we could then just blast them with different emails. And because of that, hit them over the head several times. Our product will make sense to them. And that obviously we know doesn't necessarily work. It will not work. And you automatically become a spammer in that case. The value proposition needs to be something clear. Determine what your customers' needs are with your product, and then offer that service, that solution to it. Figure out how you can outperform your competitors and surprise your customers by doing that. So let's say, for instance, go back to our cookies example. Say that my competitor make these amazing cookies, but perhaps my audience want they want that oatmeal raisin cookie. But is there a way I can make sure that my competitors are not necessarily going to do that and then outshine me? Perhaps I can make mine with a little bit more organic materials, or perhaps I'm going to have like maybe some. It's going to be some health benefits, and the calories are going to be a little bit lower, and it's going to be maybe vegan. So I'm targeting and focusing on a different segment here, and I'm really trying to separate myself from the competitor and to make sure I stand out. And the surprising part is that it's going to taste amazing and taste good. So those are some things that you can look at when it comes towards that value proposition. How can I make sure I differentiate from that competitor? And then the fifth part, before we wrap up here, the fifth part that I want you to focus on is measure the product market fit. Now, how do you go about measuring that product market fit? You want to measure your performance and manage your success by identifying those key points that you can track. So you might start off by looking at the total addressable market or the TAM, and then otherwise, you can continue going. You can use the TAM to calculate multiple. You can use your TAM as a number for the people who are find benefit from the product that's divided by the service that you have to offer. So if everyone could use your product or your service, and then everyone divided by those who started using it. So if you're, maybe you have this amazing software like we do, we had so many people that could potentially use it, and then actually people starting to use it, and we didn't measure that. So obviously our company did not thrive, our company did not succeed, and that was a huge failure, a huge problem for us. And we see it again with many different startups where they start selling their product without necessarily knowing that information. Those 5 things are absolutely critical for you. Now, I want you to come back and tie the story up and show you an example that did work. So fast forward to a company that I worked for that did practice all of these things. They did understand their product market fit. They did determine who their ideal customers were. They did gather insight. They focused on one single industry, and they were very specific on their value proposition. This company was where I worked at was a software company. And we focus a lot of our time in the government space, specifically city, county governments, and K-12. And when I started working with this organization, I was thinking like, man, this is probably going to be a tough thing. Like, how in the world are we going to, really thrive and succeed with such a narrow focus? Now, there's so many city, county governments and K-12s that are out there. And the software and solution could be beneficial to public sector organization as well. But when they first started, they saw that many of these school districts and many of these cities and counties had old, outdated solutions, and their software tend to be able to solve a problem, but wasn't too complicated, and they wanted something easy to use. So this company came in and just started there and started to thrive. And one school found benefit from it and fell in love with it and used it and recommended to another school. And then someone else in the city heard about this. And then the city recommended to another city. And they really just started to hyper focus. So when I came into the company, I didn't need to worry about what industry we needed to focus on. We had a foothold in this particular industry, and people were loving it, and people wanted it, and people were using it over and over and over again. Now, the other part to this situation as well is that not only were people using it and people enjoyed it, was also we were known at the events that we went to. We were known at the conferences, and we were known by those different individuals that would leave one department or one company and go to organization, go to another organization. We were being passed around, so to speak, by all of these different folks, and it was fascinating because it made our life easier as sales professionals. Now, here's a secret part that I came to realize too. When I first came into that company, I remember Ian, and I'll call him out on this. He was an awesome individual. So Ian, he and some of the folks in the client success department, they saw this young kid coming into the company and eager. When I would talk to them and say hi to them, and I think because we just all became cool. But he gave me a tip and an advice that I've used ever since then, and when I worked with other companies. He told me this super awesome secret, and I think you all could take advantage of this. He said, make sure you go for these type of city, county governments in K-12. I was like, well, no, we know our niche already. We already know the group of people. He said, well, these are the group of people that never call in and never complain, but they use our solution over and over again. It wasn't the large cities like the Houstons or the cities like New York. He said and it wasn't the small ones like a small town or a rural community. It was a medium-sized organization. They had enough pain, they had enough problems, they had enough difficulties, they had a decent budget, and they could use our solution over and over and over again. And once I started to I took Ian's advice and I started to go after that market and started to focus on that, I saw that my sales started to increase, and I started to thrive. I started to sell more. I started to outbeat some of my team members, and it helped me with the proper training to get on the trajectory that led to a top performer status. I didn't reinvent the wheel. We just found product market fit. And then because of client success, the people who talked to all of our customers, they were able to help me to determine the focus group of people that I should spend my time with. And that was able to help make a difference. Everything that I shared with you, those 5 points, resembled what the second company did. And you could do that as well. It's not complicated. It's not difficult. And you can thrive and succeed. The mistake, again, I want you to be aware of is that you don't go further, don't run faster than you have strength, so to speak. Don't start building before you actually know what you need to build. Test it out. Try things. Don't hire this wonderful team of staff and put them all on W-2 before you can actually afford and take care of them and bring in revenue properly. Now, if you have some investor money, that's a different situation, but you still want to make sure you're responsible for the funds that you're bringing in with that. When I worked with the second software company and we were able to apply these things, we saw that the company grew tremendously. The company was able to eventually get acquired, and that acquisition led to everyone being happy when it's all said and done. If this was helpful for you and you are determining your product market fit, and this was able to guide you and give you some encouragement, I'm glad. And if you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly. I want to see if there are any questions that I can answer for anyone. If any questions came through, any questions came into the comments area, or anything that we can take advantage of at this point. All right. So no questions on that there. So here's one last thing I want to give you. So this is your bonus tip as you leave and you go to and you go out with your organization. Avoid complacency. And what I mean by avoiding complacency is that once you figure out where you are, you've managed to achieve some kind of product market fit in your industry, don't assume that you'll always have it. Think about some of the companies that we've seen, such as Blockbuster or some of the other companies that's gone the way of the earth right now. They were in a successful niche, they were in a successful market, and they stopped innovating, they stopped advancing, stopped producing. And because of that, their market changed, and they weren't able to change as quickly because of the established core desires or beliefs that they set up already. And you shouldn't do that. Don't fall complacent. Don't let your customers leave because you're unwilling to change. And sometimes you need to cannibalize your own business. The way I teach my team, and we will talk about it, is like, look at our company, look at what we're doing, and then figure out what can we do to outsell ourselves? What can we do to outbeat ourselves so that we can almost be like the chameleon where we evolve and we adjust and we change with the market and give them exactly what they want. If your team is struggling with product market fit, how do you work with your team to still make sales, or do you? So Elise brought up a great question. If your team is struggling with product market fit, how do you work with your team to still make sales, or do you? So I would say, again, go back to my situation. I think one of the big part with that too is, you can try to test it out at that point. I did a simple, one strategy I did with when I worked with one of these companies, I went to my competitor. So this is a secret. You can try it and it works. I went to my competitors, and this company was already established and they're trying to do things. But I went to the competitor's website and I read the competitor's case study. And as I studied what the competitors' case studies were saying and what they were doing and figure out what niche they were in, I was able then to take that information, because the pain that they were facing was the same exact pain that we could solve. And that was able to help me to help pivot my sales efforts. And the team similarly did strategy like that, was able to help, and we were able to help to adjust. Now, this is for a company that was a nimble. It was a smaller startup, smaller organization, and we were able to kind of do those, scruffy things. And I imagine some of you find yourself in a situation like that. So if your team is already there, you already have the salespeople, you don't want to go and fire all of them. Do that. Go ahead and see what the competitors are doing. Read their case study, sign up for their blogs and so forth, and you'll be amazed. Watch their videos, and that's going to help you to be able to help focus and pivot. And maybe you could add a little differentiator, quote unquote, raisin, so to speak, to help with that. Hope that helped, Elise, give you some answers or give some ideas towards that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give you 2 minutes back in your life. Hope this was able to be of help to you. Again, if you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly. It would be an honor to connect with you. But as always, I want you to find your ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking and go out and do big things. Thank you so much.